What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Star Spangled Heroes favorite nerd. Today we are looking at the Revoltech Captain America. This is on loan to me from Chris Pinkerton. If you're nasty, from the realm of collectors, Enter the Realm show, part of the Cool Table Network, and the man behind Crashbox Custom, who I am giving a run for his money these days on this Jetta diorama I'm working on, which explains sand paint on my fingers and so forth. So forgive me, I'm in the middle of some projects. That being said, he let me take a look at this and I am appreciative, and let's go ahead and get started by looking at accessories. He comes with two alternate faces. One, get away from the door face that goes with the helmet that he has, and then one unhelmeted face, which is a bit different and much better done than their Gwen. When it was Gwen? No, it was Spider Gwen, right? Much better done. Much better approach. Hair is painted well. Eyes are painted well. Everything is sculpted fairly well. My camera is having a hard time focusing, but everything is done really clean, really sharp. We'll take a look at it on the figure a bit later. Also, the eyes on this, I imagine, articulate, but they didn't give me a tool. At least I don't see one in the packaging, so I'm not going to mess with it too tough. So he comes with the two fist hands that you saw in the opening footage, and then he has a saluting hand. All of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, are all right hands. His only left hand accessory is this posing hand, which he also has on his right hand, and he has a pointing finger for his right hand and a trigger finger for his right hand, which is a bit strange, but I guess I get why they included it. Maybe you can use a gun later. He doesn't come with any guns, at least not that I see, but there they are. He comes with a shield, of course. It is painted beautifully, perfectly done. And then he comes with this effect. It's like him blocking bullets or what have you, and you just slide this over the shield. I am going to be very gentle because I definitely don't want to potentially damage any of this paint, but you get the idea. And that's a cool effect. He comes with this translucent piece of plastic here that's an adapter that can peg in there and then peg into the hand to give the illusion of him throwing it. Or you can peg it into the center here, which is a bit of a looser fit, and he can be holding the shield directly. And he comes with corresponding straps for him to hold, and these two pegs peg into the fist at the top and bottom. There are ports. He also comes with his Revoltech Base, which we've looked at in the past, which has a series of hinges and swivels, and then he also has some replacement pegs, one of which, if you peg it into the back of the shield, you can also peg it into the back of the figure and he can carry it on his back. And then there is the eye tool. Just took me a minute to find it. Let's have a look, shall we? So the face does have some subtle shading. The eyes are painted well. The chin strap is painted. We have silver down here at the bottom and then brown for the leather, I would imagine. The white wings are painted clean. The A is painted clean and the A is sculpted. Let's see what we can't remove here. So there's the joint. It's a Revoltech joint, so it's basically a ball hinge that swivels at the top and bottom. This might be a double with the second ball hinge sitting down inside of the neck a bit deeper. We have wrinkles in the suit around the neck, which I think is cool. I'm going to put this back on. Using both joints, you get all the way up, which is nice. A good, I mean, I don't think you need any more down either. I think it works perfectly. Swivel from side to side, off to an angle. So it pretty much works perfectly. For the shoulders, we have this sort of swivel here again. You know, these figures are meant to be hyper posable, so that's why they do this. And it does break up the sculpt a bit, but it's not hateful, and I think it's kind of in line with what they've been doing. I think that you should expect this sort of look by this point in the line. And I think I've looked at all of them, if not most of them, and I've kind of got on board with what it's trying to do. So I'm good with that. And then you have a double Revoltech joint here, so peg, ball hinge, peg, which gets the shoulder up to there, all the way around. You get a butterfly joint because of the dual use of the ball hinges and the swivel. And then you have a no bicep swivel. You do have a ball hinge elbow. It's a double ball hinged elbow that swivels, so that's where you'll get your bicep swivel. And then you have the wrist, which swivels at both ends and has a ball hinge, so you'll get in, out, and up, down, so to speak. This hand has both hands have the pegs to hold the shield, as an FYI. I think I said only one does. And then the shoulder pad, it looks like to me is on a ball peg. I'm not going to take it off, but it should move out of your way. We have all the sculpting here that's all done beautifully, wrinkles in the suit, and then the kind of leatherish look here around the shoulder. And then, let's see, the straps are all sculpted, painted, you know, and then this kind of armor pad on his forearms are all painted. We do have some paint that kind of, oh no, that's fairly clean. I guess it's not perfect, but it's fairly clean. I think it's good enough. Same for the other side. Now, it's a ratcheted ball hinge for the abdomen or the chest to the, like a diaphragm joint, and then I think just a ball peg for the lower abdomen. Using both, oh, it's a double ball hinge. So using both, you'll get the figure bent all the way over, a fair bit back, but this piece doesn't fit perfectly. You'll have to readjust it, but I think it's ultimately okay. I think that'll work. And then the swivels everywhere where you would need it to. So no issues there. We have this same sort of, I guess it's a T-joint and ball joint for hips that gets you all the way out to there. The thigh swivels around. The swivel is at an angle. So in a way, it helps you get more dynamic poses. At the same time, it can look silly if you don't have it quite right. So just keep that in mind. The belt is sculpted. I don't like how this belt here, if you can look at it, is on a ball hinge. This is the same thing like we just saw with that Thousand Toys Billy figure or Killy figure. So you have to, I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world, and this one actually works a bit better because you have this front piece that you can kind of adjust and then sit these two sections of the belt behind. But overall, you know what? I think I'm gonna give it a pass. Ultimately, I like this. I like how that front bit hides it. So it takes a little bit of work for you to pose it and then get it sorted. But I think ultimately it will be worth it. So I'm gonna retract that criticism. And then forward to there, back, not as much. We have a hinge knee, like old school, like this is part and then this is part, and the peg's in here. But it works. It's just kind of retro, I guess, but it ends up giving the knee a pretty good look too, so I'm okay with that. The knee pad is all sculpted and painted. All of the seams and wrinkles and stuff in the suit are sculpted and painted, coming down to the ankles, which are on a ball hinge to a ball peg, which is interesting. Using both, you can get the ankle tilt up to there, down to there, toe hinge, and if you swivel it, you'll get your rocker. The boots are all sculpted, laces are sculpted, everything is sculpted, and then the soles are painted brown and then sculpted on the bottom. And then the back of the figure looks pretty good. So overall, I think it does everything it's supposed to do. You know, and I think it's consistent with the line. Whether or not that works for you as what you want in a figure, that's definitely a personal preference, but I don't know. I think it's pretty well done. Not perfect, but pretty well done. And I think it's a constant improvement. I think that the overall proportions and sculpts are starting to support the hyperarticulation. Like, it's not quite perfect, you know, and we lose some, especially in the neck to this little head. I think that's the worst part proportionately. But I think that if you go back and look at that Daredevil figure, I think we're improving. I think it's getting better. I would have liked for this is one of my big gripes here, this middle section, to have just kind of been sorted a bit better. But I think that overall, we're seeing an improvement and we're getting a higher caliber class of hyper-articulated figure. So, not bad. And I know it's not quite a size comparison because of Wolverine's pose, but I think you'll be able to get the general idea. And I think that looks pretty good. And, you know, Cap isn't even in a hyper-articulated pose, which in the past has been one of my criticisms, that you couldn't enjoy kind of the best of both worlds with these figures. But I mean, that looks pretty good to me. Final thoughts-wise, my negatives are, for one, it is kind of a pain to use the shield as an accessory. Like, all the things that have to tab in order to get him to hold it, like, it's almost not worth it. I mean, it ultimately is worth it because what good is a cat without a shield, right? But it's just like, good grief. Gotta have little itty-bitty delicate figures for this unit.
All right. Let me get this shield in for some final thoughts.
My other complaint is that midsection red and white striped floating piece I feel like should be a little bit taller on both ends, or longer, I guess I should say. That way it wouldn't like sort of jumble around quite as much, and you'd be able to cover up and down on the joint more so as needed. Maybe that caused an issue with articulation and that's why they didn't do it. I'm not sure, but we can also put Men on the Moon, so let's figure out how to cover up that gap. But the sculpt's great, the paint's great, the articulation is great, and the aesthetic works with the articulation. One other thing I do want to issue, though, is like his shield and all this can be a bit heavy on some of these joints, and some of the joints don't hold up as well when you're going to pose as you would like. But it still works overall. It still presents well overall, and it still definitely evokes the character and the kind of comic book styling that you kind of expect from a character of this nature, like in terms of the poses it lends himself to. The build is better than a lot of what I've seen from Revoltech in the past, and the same goes for the paint and for the accessory choices, so it's a recommend for me. Be aware, the build isn't as great as it should be. This abdomen piece is a little short, and it can be a bit of a bear to get the shield to work with. But yeah, thanks to Chris for letting me take a look at it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.